Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India on this day, October 17, 2021. Sunday, a day to sleep for everybody, but for me, no, because I am serious. I got up early morning and talk seriously about required quality and necessary safety to achieve quality. Talk is very simple as usual. It should be as it is. Engineering, civil field engineering, life, engineers, quality and AnnexSL, red silver. I added to this title red and silver because it's very important. SHE designs, construction methods, contracts, organizations, communications, coordinations, why we behind quality of standard materials, work stocks, etc. etc. I think some error in works, no problem. W is missed by chance. Well, I'll correct it later on, no issue. Sometimes I change at 11th hour and it happens. So quality is an issue everywhere. It must be taken. My duty as a person. Quality required everywhere in every activity in life. Quality required. Signals are zero. Video audio complete zero. This is quality of signals. Now it's again up, but frame now down. Quality required everywhere and in every activity in life and in engineering. And life in engineering based. Life is engineering based, which means that engineering is super life. Like medical is super life, super profession you can say. Medical is super profession, that's what we agree. गुणवत्ता हर काम में आवश्यक, सुरक्षा बिना सब कर्म बेकार, उत्पादन हो या उद्योग हो या निर्माण. SHE, that is safety, health, environment required everywhere during manufacturing and processing and in construction activities and also during use of products and services. Whereas Shakti Upyog, ergonomics is a science that tells everyone about how to use available energies for doing whatever works activities in best possible safe manner so that involved worker is least impacted upon by adverse actions imposed upon by such activities. These requirements are certainly must, no way to respond these to no. Must ask yourself, no way out and without good quality compliance applications, good safety health compliance applications, nothing can move in right directions. Safety health environment is very first consideration on each and every activity, on each and every project, and on each and every operation, all to be supported by applications of principles of ergonomics. SHE claims that safety first. If safety is conducted, what happens? And if safety is ignored, what happens? सुरक्षा है तो दर्द नहीं, सुरक्षा नहीं है तो दर्द ही दर्द. नो सेफ्टी नो पेन एंड नो सेफ्टी नो पेन. गुणवत्ता की आवश्यकता हर कार्य में. Quality has to be complied with defined, specified, stated requirements within ambit of work, designed, valid specifications, quality range in elaboration. Depending on indicative descriptions of there exists no unlimited scope of quality criteria to be carried out, no future if no quality persists and its specified requirements must be met in all respects. Quality is a must. अभियंताओं को समझना होगा. Quality is a must. अभियंताओं को समझना होगा. गुणवत्ता आवश्यक. Engineers must realize quality facts. I always keep a break at this point. अभियंताओं को समझना होगा. Engineers must realize facts. Now, talking, I'll keep these certificates off. So now, purpose of this certificates over, and let's talk about improvement. We're talking about performance evaluation, how to perform, how to evaluate that, and then we can say improvement, as say non-conformity and corrective actions, continual improvement in changing business environment, process, and objectives vary. To meet which requirements, continual monitoring, evaluation, and improvements are a must. As earlier stated, the technologies keep on changing as well as business environment, which makes it incumbent upon organizations to keep pace with market so as to be at required standard length, standard mark. Non-conformities are not acceptable. We have to review everything. Non-conformities resorting to corrective actions. We have to do it, apply with. Says this requires review of non-conformities resorting to corrective actions for chatting out corrective actions. Such making and evolving keeps system frequently updated, and all involved personnel continue to learn and update. All leaders require shared improvement responsibilities at all times, at currently running projects, and adopt as lessons learned on future projects as part of historical references. What documents are involved are very lengthy. Contract documents, project schedule agreed with engineer and owner, contract drawings, contract specifications, execution method statement, significant method statements, shop and working drawings, national codes, international codes, national annexes, nationally determined parameters, published documents, dispute adjudication board if it applies. These documents are limited in number. I'm not stating that we confined to this. There can be any length of document. There can be whatever additional documents, contract documents we call each one. We have to get grip of all this. First, we have to understand what is contract. For example, what is contract? That point is really very concernable. What contract is? I previously also defined what is contract, but definition is never complete. We have to keep that point in mind. The definition is never complete, and we have to see again and again what is required, what is right, what's not right. That's also very important. FIDIC, GCC Bank Silver. Where is FIDIC Red? Well, let me see. Just a minute, please. It takes some time to, sometimes FIDIC. I think I missed somewhere. Let me go to the other one. Journal. FIDIC is here. Yes, it is here. Principle edition 19, Golden Principles, Red Book. Now I'm just showing you this standard format, which is FIDIC Red Book, which means it is a contract of construction. This is conditions of building and engineering works designed by employer, and this edition 2017. I'm not interested in copyright, but I'm interested in this. Some documents are there, and these are, say, letter of tender, letter of acceptance, contract agreement, dispute avoidance, adjustment agreement. So you can say here some forms of letter of tender, letter of acceptance, contract agreement, and dispute adjudication avoidance agreement. These are some I'm just trying to tell this is a typical sequence of principal events during contracts for construction. What can be typical events that is very important in construction contract, what we can get out of that, and what's more significant. Or time for completion. Video is very down, audio is very down, maybe it goes away immediately. I can't trust continuation, only 0 and 0, probably shall be down soon, I'm sure. If it doesn't come back, time for completion is to be stated in contract detail, in contract data. That is, time for completion is to be given in contract data as number of days. To when added something else also, and that is, we can say, time for completion is to be stated in contract data as a number of days to which is added any extension of time under whatever subclause, that is 8.5 in this case. In order to indicate sequence of events, this diagram is based upon examples of contractor failing to comply with this. Defects notification period is to be stated as number of days to which is added extension, any extension, and depending on type of works, tests after completion may also be required. Easy if we can understand index. What is content of any contract? We have here first example, general provisions. What are general provisions? We can say what are general provisions in whatever contract. I'm concerned about signals. Again, I'm saying 0000, and framing is only 9 fps, so it can be down anytime. It can be down anytime. Just, non-reliable, unreliable signals I'm getting. I know it's at 1.5 Mbps is too good, but now it's 111, so 10% of that. I don't know what to do. Continuation is important, but signals are also important. So we can say definitions. In general provisions, we have definitions. We have, we can say, interpretations. We can say it is definitions, interpretation, notices and other communications, law and language, priority of documents, contract agreement, assignment, care and supply of documents, delayed drawings or instructions, employer's use of contracts documents, contractor's use of employer's documents, confidentiality, compliance with laws, joint and several liability, limitation of liability, mean we can say that right of access to site, assistance, employer's personal and other contractors, and employer's financial arrangements, site data, and items of reference. Employer employer supplied materials and employer's equipment. And we can start. If we go further, it is engineer. What engineer says? Engineer says, engineer, what is engineer? What are engineer's duties and authority? Engineer's representative, delegation by engineers, and then it says engineer's instructions. Engineer's instructions, replacement of engineer, agreement of determination, meetings. Then we need to go to contractor. Contractor, what it is? In essence, I'm just trying to cite them from index. Contractor. Contractor's general obligations, performance security, contractor's representative, contractor's documents, training, cooperation, setting out health and safety obligations, quality management and compliance verification systems, use of site data, sufficiency of accepted unforeseeable physical conditions, right of way and facilities, avoidance of interference, access route, transport of goods, contractors' equipment, protection of environment, temporary utilities, progress reports, security of site, contractors' operations on site, archaeological and geological findings. Then subcontractors and nominated subcontractors, and then staff and workers. If we take just in consideration, staff and labor or workers, engagement of staff and workers, rate of wages and conditions of workers, recruitment of persons, labor rules, statutes, working hours, facilities for staff and workers, health and safety of personnel, contractors, superintendents, contractors' personnel, contractors' records, plant materials and workmanship, manner of execution, samples, inspection, testing by contractor, defects and rejection, remedial work, ownership and plant and materials, royalties. Then we have commencement, delays and suspension. This now operation, you can say commencement of works, time for completion, program, advance warning, extension of time for completion, delays caused by authorities, rate of progress, delay damages, employer suspension, consequences of employer suspension, payment for plant and materials after employer suspension, prolonged suspension, completion, contractor's obligations, delayed tests, retesting, failure to pass test on completion, employers taking over works and sections, taking over parts, interferences with tests on completion, surface requiring surfaces requiring reinstatement, then defects after taking over, and then we have many other measurement and valuation variations and adjustments, contract prices and payment, termination by employer, suspension and termination by contractor, care of works and indemnities, exceptional events, insurances, employers and contractors claims, and then disputes and arbitration. Why actually I tried to tell you all this? Because you have to understand contract structure first. What is definition of contract? What does it mean? Is what it tells us. That point we have to understand very well. Otherwise, there's no meaning in going through if you don't understand that. You know, as we already discussed, purpose of contract. We're talking at length about issues contract. I talked at length about Red Book. I added this title Red and Silver now, so that Red we are talking about and Silver we have to start. But now, since it is a kind of conclusive stage of annex, in which we talked about structures of this as part of quality, and we discussed about this contract documents. We discussed about 10 clauses which are the system, scope, clause 1 scope, clause 2, here is clause 2 I think is missed, clause 2 normative references. First is scope, then normative references, that's clause 2, and then clause 3, that's terms and definitions, and clause 4, text of organization, that is text of organization, context of organization, and then it is clause 5, that is leadership. 5 is leadership, that is 5, and then you can say 6 is planning. 6 is planning, and 7th is let us wait. Oh, it's gone. Oh, sorry. Eight is operation and 7th is support. 7 is support, then 8 is operation, and then 9th is performance evaluation, 9th, and then 10th is improvement. All these we discussed at length. We discussed in depth about this. Before this, we have to understand how these are related to What is the scope? No scope of organization here, but in contracts, scope is different. I'm just trying to have understanding of both, a kind of comparison. What is scope? There is a scope, but scope of organization else. And this scope on contract, you can say, scope of contract. Every contract has some scope, and you have to understand that. Context of normative references, we call it. Clause 2, normative references. In case of organization, what are references? And in case of you can say scope, what are references? Scope. In case of contract, both are different. In case of organization, certain laws apply, certain statutes apply, so many other points apply, many laws apply for registration of organization, for functioning of operations of organization. But on contracts, different laws apply. Contract laws apply, and under that contract laws, many other contract laws apply. Workers laws, work laws, other regulations. Likewise, if you compare many clauses, you will find various differences, but all apply there as well on contracts. Let us take example of leadership. That is clause number 5. Leadership in organization grossly applies. Also, it applies elementarily or specifically on contracts. Both apply together. Whatever we have to do for organization, we have to do for contract. Because contract is also an organization, though it is temporary. But our contracting organization, that is permanent until it wants to remain in business. So both are organizations. We also can say so many points are there, but these documents which I am trying to show, see, as I said, improvements are always there, learning is always there, mistakes are always there, errors are always there. There is nothing that is not there, and what is reason is I have taken titles accordingly. Now here we say contract documents. We also say project schedule agreed with engineer or owner, contract drawings, contract specifications, execution method statement, significant method statements, shop and working drawings, national codes, international codes, national annexes, nationally determined parameters, published documents, and DAB if applies. Or it may be arbitration later on. Now these documents are not end. These do not have end. These may be somewhere. These all have very much relevant meanings in contracting as well as in organization. We can talk of annex when we talk of AnnexSL, and when we talk of contracts. Both are having blood relations, because AnnexSL means organization which can stay without contract or which stays with contract. It depends. Sometimes it has got some contract, sometimes it is idle, it has no work. And because we know contracts are never permanent, contracts keep on coming and going, so we can say one is organization document, one is contract documents. Now we are interested in applications. That applications are contracts. We have learned what is AnnexSL, what should be organization, how it should function. There is no limit, particularly in construction. When we say every construction is different, but principles are same. We cannot say something specific comes to, and we say construction generally means construction for development. Construction generally means that we cannot compare everything to mechanical world, electrical world here, though it's a part of that. But when we're talking of red book, it generally applies to construction contracts. And when we talk of next one, that will be silver book, which would also be red book plus designs. So we can say red book is construction book, and you can say construction plus designs means silver. So we can change color here. Red color is stop, means you have to construct. Stop here, don't go, construct first. And when we say silver means you can say you design first and then construct. That is called silver. There may be white and yellow later on. These two are important first, because silver commands designs also. Silver is equal to constructions added with design. This is so simple. And of course, when you talk of designs and construction, just a term design has entered into red, and it has changed entire scenario. Then there will be exclusive design services contracts, and then shall be there some other service contract. But when we enter into details, try to note that. Now let me explain just to understand AnnexSL factually, because those engineers or others who are new to contract world, I call it contract world rather than something else, because I've experienced in general that all engineers are not well trained in contracts, not well trained, because engineers are oriented for calculations. That is very much true. Engineers are they are taught, they are shaped, you can say, they are shaped to a world that is calculation world, numerical world. Numerical means certain technical questions where technical data is given, some data is missing, that data is to be computed using technical formula, and that's where we can say numericals. It's not essay writing or poetry or something else, it is facts related question, and that's why we say engineers must realize these facts. Only numericals are not adequate, contracts are also required. So what I mean to say, when I stress on contracts, that is reality of life. As every time I stress, contracts cannot be avoided at any cost, on whatever item, on whatever work. If not construction contracts, you want to avoid some contracts, means you cannot avoid supply contracts, procurement contracts, or many other contracts. When contract comes into picture, it is one item contract to 1000 items contract. Contract is contract. It is total package, or it is workers supply contract, or it is material supply contract, or it is services contract. Contract comes into picture, comes into work all time, not only in construction but also in production industries, in processing industries, and wherever you go you will find something, and that's what AnnexSL commands. AnnexSL, there will be, this is for AnnexSL construction, There can be Annex SL for EPC, that we can say engineering, procurement and construction, and there can be Annex SL for designs, Annex SL for something else. This is not my research. I'm just trying to understand till now. Though I have very long practical engineering experience, yet I try to analyze and understand what is my value to myself, and that only can be known through thorough analysis of one's performance. I have seen weakness of engineering community, weakness of community that for them contract is another world, though it's not fact. Contractor cannot be another world. It's a world in world itself. Engineering cannot work without contract background. Engineering cannot work without design background. Engineering cannot work without construction background, without production background. And engineering cannot work without mistakes background or correction background. You can say there is nothing that cannot be included in engineering. Every part can be included, of course, not in thorough aspects, but to some extent we have to learn. Just like for learning language, we learn translation and grammar of that language. Engineering is also that kind of language. We generally used to say drawings become language of engineers. That is true, because drawings tell everything what you have to do or what you ask someone else to do. Same way, there are some disciplines, some sub-disciplines where engineering community cannot avoid. I don't know reason for that. You have to deal with them. You can get degrees, that's one part. You can get some other professional degrees, that's another part. But what you have to achieve is different. I don't need any degree if I cannot achieve anything based on knowledge given by that degree. It can be engineering, it can be medical, it can be MBA, it can be something else. If I cannot understand essence, if cannot understand what is required, then first of all, I can't nominate myself engineer. Some people mind my statement stating that he's not specialist. Maybe I'm not a specialist. I don't want to be. What is meaning of specialist? I don't understand. Our body in which we live, I live, you live, is that a specialist body? A group of specializations. It's not one specialization. There are so many specializations that we have seen doctors from every specialty, and every doctor is different. But we should not forget that every doctor is basically same. Every doctor is MBBS, and every doctor knows what is physical system of body and what is surgery. But this doesn't mean after passing higher degrees that doctors can say, I have forgot MBBS, or I don't like that, because that is root of medical science. Same way, we are engineers. Our prime objective is to develop, to construct, to create something new using our technical knowledge, using something through our minds. We can say it's like that when you go to doctor, you go for treatment. You are not healthy. That reason pulls you to doctor. But doctor does not treat you automatically. Doctor wants to know or diagnosis your problem, your sickness. And that diagnosis is through conducting tests or through conducting x-rays or through some other medical requirements based testing. This means doctor cannot treat you without those tests. For making decisions, doctor requires reports, and based on those reports, your prescription or your treatment is conducted. Here in engineering, we do not test directly. First we create through mind. We have already tested some materials in engineering world, which parameter we have, and when some problem comes, we do not take x-rays directly. We take x-rays of for materials only whenever required, not for our creation. Our drawings are created using mind and experience and requirements, satisfaction, and we can say these drawings which we produce or these designs which we produce, these are our x-rays. Means we do not x-ray directly, we draw x-rays through our vision. Through mind we draw x-rays, and those x-rays are continuously followed for work. Try to understand what I am saying. Engineer is not dependent on x-rays. Engineer has to draw x-rays. Means something which is unknown, we have to draw to be known. We have unknown, something we have unknown, but we have to draw it to be known through some drawings. And these drawings are x-rays for, these are actually more than x-rays, because lot of thinking has been given for result of that drawing. That we got that drawing, you can say sometimes it's too easy to draw, sometimes it's too difficult. But we are not dependent on physical existence, because engineers are required to create physical existence. There is a big difference here. Means we are like, you can say, we are like those who do for nature, using nature itself, who do for nature. Of course, we do not feel pain of a building that building goes through. And you may say, how you are talking, how can building go through pain? The fact remains, because building has got materials. No building can be constructed without permanent involving or permanent inclusion of materials. Permanent inclusive material, temporary use material, or material used for doing some work. That is preparation of, just like we say preparatory school, primary school, likewise we say primary school, this is middle class school, this is preparatory school, this is secondary school, we name them. Same way we have to name our engineering. We do sometimes very basics study, sometimes we enter into detailed analytical world which has no limitations, which goes into negative calculations as well as positive calculations, exponential calculations, as well as everything else. Computer itself is an example. Computer system itself is a set of examples. It uses machine language, it uses negative work, negative calculations in microns, and it uses a lot, it uses electrical supply, it uses so much magnetic world. This means engineering is something that can use mind and produce unknown. That unknown is unknown. We cannot move further that unknown until we know it. Until we bring it to drawings, it is unknown. Until it takes time, we bring something on drawing boards. Till that time, it remains in minds. When it comes to drawing board, another person can view that. Another person. And that's where communication starts. Otherwise, until it's in one's mind, original idea is in one's mind, it is known for that mind, but not known for other minds, other whosoever. When it is drawn, it's reflected, it becomes a part of communication. Means lines which are produced on drawings become language for communication to other one. When we can say, this is my possible proposal, and then you can say from there starts everything. That is engineering, which was in mind. That's also engineering. Of course, it was based on ideas and science, and ideas are never illogical. Ideas can never be illogical. Ideas are always logical. When I think something for creation, I consider probably many factors with my contemplation: scientific factor, engineering factor, what should be done, what should not be done. All that comes into mind. So we can say it's something natural and something artificial. For this, contract is not required for idea. Yes, you can sell it if somebody wants, I want a proposal from you for my building, my house, then you can say, okay, that can be a part of my business. But even then, idea is idea. But converting idea onto drawing board, it starts, you can say, project work. And then it goes on to all processes, whatever is there, until we start construction of that original idea. We can name it project, we can name it whatsoever scheme, it works. Now I'm not going into that word, but that I'm just trying to tell what engineer has to do differently. That is what engineer has to do differently. Your own ideas, one's ideas, engineer has to use and convert to physical existence. That is what engineering is. And there's a difference where medical and engineering differ. Doctors cannot produce ideas, but engineers are based on ideas. Only difference is that. Of course, we do not directly deal with humans, but engineering deals indirectly with humans, because engineers develop, engineers provide everything, and these ideas have changed from times and again time, and it's different now. Development moves, everything moves, and engineering benefits and society benefits. Purpose was contract. As I said, contract is a part of life. It is not same, it is part of life. Now we can start. Let's go to understand. As I said, documents. I was inclined to explain meaning of these documents, which is a part of AnnexSL dependence. These documents provide information to contracting world. When I say contracting world, I do not mean contractor only. When I say contracting world, it includes everyone, because contractor is just a party on contract and not everything. There's another party on contract, and that's employer. These are two parties minimum, and there are indirect parties which are not directly related to this contract but work for this contract. There is engineer, there is third party, there may be many other parties like government authorities which are not directly responsible but they have to provide public service, like civil defense, like firefighting, like water supply, like sewerage, like roadworks, or whatever else. They are not directly involved, they are public public people, but they have indirect controls on many points. Example is permits, example is firefighting, example is many other public or you can say disaster management programs. You can say there is no limit. What we say about contract, I would again define contract is just a document but powerful one, binding one. Contract cannot be accepted if one says I agree with this and other party says I don't agree with this. In that case, contract cannot exist. For existence of contract, both parties should accept it. Employer and contractor, or employer which we call party 1 and contractor which we call party 2, both have to accept liabilities, responsibilities, obligations and every other aspect included therein that requires to be accepted by both parties in spirit, in letters, in principle and to fulfill requirements. These points look beautiful while speaking. These points look beautiful, but its implications, its consequences, its liabilities are different. Sometimes it's a good contract, other time it becomes a bad contract for one or for both. But when we talk of construction only, well, I think risk factor is not high provided your calculations are right, your offer is right and conditions of contract are also right. Rightfully speaking, purpose of this annex, purpose of this FIDIC are same. There was no FIDIC before, there was no NEC before, but thoughts were there, Contract Act was still there and we had to comply by it. So look, first answer is, first importance is, nobody wants to lose anything unduly. Employer doesn't want to lose its investment and its profit. Same way, contractor doesn't want to lose anything if it doesn't gain anything. No contractor wants to lose for sake of nothing. Yes, contract means some profit to contractors. If contractor doesn't get that profit, why shall someone become contractor? And if nobody becomes contractor, in that case, engineer and owner have to work for themselves. And that is very, very difficult job because of various factors involved. Had it been so easy, there would be no contract requirement. We would have done ourselves. That's why contract is important for construction-like activities, which are original activities, not purchased activities. In construction activities which we do, they are not available in market. These are not available in market except materials, and we have to construct, and which means if I construct, I have to depend on required activities. Some materials are available, some are not available. Example is, let us say bricks are available, that's also manufactured one. Concrete blocks are available, that's also manufactured one. Steel reinforcement bars are available, that's also, we can say, manufactured one. And structural steel is available, that's also fabricated one, or you can say whatever else. This is what I say. In construction, prime construction, work is to be done on site, and that site becomes a permanent factory or permanent processing plant for that project. Which looks little shabby, fishy to get it, but that's a fact. No construction can be done without ground first. Ground is a must. and then activities are must. Example is concrete. Concrete has to be produced. If it's required to be included, you cannot say this concrete is available in market, I'll buy and install. It's a technical material, engineering material. All materials used in industry, of construction industry or otherwise, all materials are not readily available. These are directly or indirectly manufactured. Brick is also manufactured. Same way concrete blocks are produced, and you can say doors, windows, whatever we use or whatever we work on sites. Some metals are, you can see, manufactured elsewhere, as I said, steel, bricks, and some are available from nature and we have to procure them. In whatever way we talk, our outdoor work, outdoor work percentage increases. No engineer can do everything without materials, without resources, without human resource, I mean to say, and without mechanical resources, and without fuels. All these are primary requirements for construction. That's why I'm stressing on that for contracts issue. I experienced that I'm not finding many people in engineering world who have interest in contracting. I have seen hundreds of notings on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on SAFE, which are highly profiled websites in engineering. I'm not finding any major discussions on contracts, and that's the only reason I try to talk to everybody if they are interested, because having interest or having no interest cannot be helped. One has to find some interest. Issue of contracts cannot be left to law professionals, because they may know law. Law on contracts are available, but law on construction contracts are not actually available. See, there is some system in every factory. Some records are maintained in mechanical production or in some other production, electronic production. But those are held by those people who have at least some education. This is different for mechanical, electrical and others, because accuracy is more required there, into millimeters, and some parts are available, some parts are procured, assembly is done, and then you can say after machine is completed, it is disposed or sale. But in engineering, it doesn't happen as such. Engineering means civil engineering, construction engineering. We don't have that privilege. We don't have that privilege to work in factory and assemble. That privilege doesn't exist in civil world, civil engineering world. And that's why I always say this is a different work. Civil engineer is a different person, quite different, because we have to do everything which others cannot do. Generally, work is done in open, first of all, and that is not in personal comfort zone. All weather conditions are to be accepted by engineers when they work in construction field. Again, I say it is civil that enters threshold of project, that enters project before threshold is created, that enters project before anything or everything is done. When there exists nothing, engineer exists there. Engineer does not have even a single room to stay there, and even restaurants or hotels are located at remote distance that one cannot go daily and come back after sleeping. Means initial work is very difficult. Just to create, to stay there, you have to pass through a difficult phase, and it happens on every project. Part of mobilization comes later on, but comes every other part. Design feedback, natural feedback, what is possible, what's not possible. Means civil engineers have difficult job, which you can say not mentally, I can say physically itself. It's not as good job as others have in comfort zone. That's why I say you may find certain habits with civil engineers which may not be tenable. I don't talk about that. Now what I talk is what documents are important in engineering. That's where talk started. It says contract documents. When we talk of contracts, certainly documents will be talked of. I'm not here to define engineering. I'm here to define understanding of documents. Understanding of you can say contract. I have seen some government engineers who are very serious on contracts, but that are very few. They are forced because of their responsibilities. They are forced because of many reasons. And I have seen engineers who do not care for contracts, who care for designs, who care for calculations, who do not care for text, but they care for only numericals. Everybody has its own objective of life, but why do they suffer somewhere? Because of this reason. We can go into depth of calculations, we can go into depth of designs, we can go into depth of other activities, but we do not want to study something that does not have any numericals. Example is contract, which is based on text. Of course, technicalities are, designs are there, references only, but not in contract. You have to study anything. Why do we have to consult law or legal professionals? Reason being, we do not know impact of these conditions. These are very ordinary conditions, in fact. Very ordinary conditions, and these do not make life difficult. These conditions make life easy. Language could be difficult sometimes, but it's not difficult than technical language. We have many technical terms which are very complicated in engineering itself, which we don't remember sometimes. Such terms which are used with soil, for example, clay soil, we use such terms. We use such terms with some other soils, some other technical terms which are difficult to remember, but we deal with them. There is nothing in contract that can be that complicated. It is all general. Example is contract documents. Is that complicated? We can't understand. Is schedule that complicated? Are contract conditions general or particular that complicated? Are terms used in contracts that complicated? I don't understand. Why do we run away? Why do engineers run away from that? We operate contracts, we get work done. We do not study contract documents. When something comes in, every engineer tries to say, let legal professional take care of this. I don't know why. It's a part of engineering, it's a part of project, conditions of contract and contracts, and it is duty of engineers. It's duty of engineer to devise a contract. Even FIDIC, there are engineers in FIDIC, experts, and AnnexSL, in ISO 9001, there are all these engineers. I think it's only opinion difference. It's only approach problem that we do not value ourselves. Now, for example, there are some documents. What are those? Called contract documents. You know all time, every time when we talk, what are documents? Document is a very simple term in law. It should be on paper or somewhere else. Now it's magnetic also. It should be computer also. Whatever information is given, whatever else. Or it's a simple form of paper, just a blank paper. You have drawn something or you have written something and signed, which can also become a part of contract. This means it's not paper, to be very frank. It's not paper that is contract. It is agreed information. Contract is agreed information. Mutually agreed information by and between two persons or bodies. Two persons in which one person is owner and one person is contractor. Owner means a person who is liable for everything. Ultimately, he should be liable to pay to contractor for work done. I don't think more than this contract can be defined. And every day we enter contracts unknowingly, we do not know. When you hire some auto rickshaw or rickshaw and ask him to drop you somewhere for whatever payment, that is also a contract. It's a contract. You buy a bus ticket to go somewhere, that's a contract. Or you travel or do something else where other person is involved whose services you want to take, it's contract. Ticket itself is a contract. This point we understand. Every engineer understands. I don't say that engineers do not know. They know. Every engineer knows contract. When you employ someone, you have to give contract to that one. Or when you are employed, you are given a contract. So we understand employment contract. We understand contracts. When we may work in government or work in private, projects are projects. Somebody has to do that. Somebody has to do that, has to construct. And that body who constructs, who is given this responsibility, is called contractor. For me, both are contractors. For my understanding, it may not be book understanding, but analytical understanding. And analysis is more important than book's knowledge. Analysis is always significant. We have to realize this part. Without analysis, we cannot understand anything. When I say both are contractors, here meaning of contract is different. Different in a sense, because both have signed a contract document, that's why both are responsible. Yes, role is different. Role of party one is that arrange funds for your project, and if you cannot arrange funds, you shall be trapped. You shall be trapped if you give a contract. From where shall you make that payment of work done? And if you are able to make payment of work done, alright, you have every right to enter into contract. And same applies to contractor. From where contractor shall use funds and how that person shall work, that is responsibility of that party to whom we call contractors or party 2. So in fact, truly speaking, there are two parties on contract, party 1 and party 2. And if you call party 1 and party 2, it doesn't make any difference, because party 1 is always that which is owner, and party 2 is that which is not owner but owner of responsibility, owner of construction, And that ownership is different type: responsibility owner, obligation owner. While first party is owner, original, honor for all consequences, honor of every consequences. In this case, because design is not done by contractor or party 2, it becomes responsibility of owner itself. In this case of Red Book, so we have to be little clear about this. Do not think if contractor is mentioned, it is second class. No, it has no class. Neither owner has any class, nor contractor has any class. Both have signed one document. Both have signed certain responsibility, certain public relation, government authority. Government means not government, but governing document it is. You can say first party has given some rights to second party, and second party has given some right to first party. Both parties have mutually privileged each other, mutually chartered each other. In that sense, I can say that contract is a charter. Contract is a charter between two parties. Just like our laws that give us rights, those are charters. In our country, Constitution of Bharat, India is a charter. That charter defines formally rights, duties and liabilities of everyone. That's what contract defines. Of course, it is under ambit of some statute, and that statute also remains under ambit of this prime charter of nation. UK has its own charter, head charter, Magna Carta. Same way, in America has charter, Constitution of USA. Likewise, every nation has some charter. That's why we charter two persons each together. Now, role of engineer comes there in contracts because it is a specialized job. Contract is a specialized job. It's technical job. It's engineering job. It's not common field. Ins and outs, positives and negatives, how to, what activities go on such contracts, every point is considered in this contract. In this contract, whatever contract we agree together, there is no binding that we have to follow this form or that form. What should be more clear is what work is to be done, that should be clear, and what payment should be made, that should be clear, and what is duration of this contract, that should be clear. All others are secondary. If these are clear, which we call detail of work, we call price of work, and we call time of work. If these points are clear, you cannot run away from responsibility. If you run away, you shall have to accept damages, because damages cannot be caused to anyone. Nobody has any right to cause damages to someone else. And that's why we are least concerned with that issue. What we are concerned is system of quality, system of physical work, and of course people want to enter into publishing field, advertisement field, let them do that. But as an engineer, what I have to understand, that I have to support myself. I'm not going to support someone else. If I try to learn more and more, it doesn't matter that I should be law graduate. No, not necessary. Because law is something else. As far as studies are concerned, my studies should be meant to practical aspect of construction. And sitting at home, I cannot understand that. Because I have to go to that place under rain and see that how it works. So it should be very clear that contract contract is responsibility of engineer. You may say there are specific subjects for this. Of course, there can be. It is quantity surveying or engineering that can be learned, that can be understood. If we study some bare contracts as well, we can find so many common items, common phrases used in those contracts. Those are very important to be known to every engineer. What does contract mean? Every engineer knows. How it works, every engineer knows. And every engineer knows that we should neither justice done, timely done is very important factor. How it is done, that can be different. Signals down again and again. How can I do justice with myself? I don't know. Just a joke. We said contract documents, contract drawings, contract specifications, contract statements, other drawings, shop working drawings, national codes, international codes. Now, if you take out of these some, for example, what are contract drawings, what are contract specifications, what methods are available or we agree. No. As I initially explained, contract is not just a piece of paper. Contract is not just a piece of paper, which I could also understand too late. Contract is a commitment. Once you sign, first of all, you should sign only when you are sure. You cannot sign for playing. You cannot sign something for playing football or cricket. You are going to play with lives of people. Keep in mind, contract is an objective. It's an objective of delivering something for public. Even it's for employer, but it's for public. Because employer shall not use exclusively for itself. It shall be used by masses in general cases. So one should not be in hurry to sign contract, but one should be patient. One should be having, you can say, absorption to first understand what is required to be done. No game, no question of fame, question of responsibility, question of, you can say, I have to do it. If I don't do it, I shall face damages, I shall face harms, my reputation shall be at stake. We have to understand process of contract. Very significant talk for engineers who have many years of experience, but they don't have experience on contracts, which causes a problem. We strongly talk of designs, we strongly talk of doing job, we strongly talk of safety, health and environment, we talk of quality, but we don't understand quality, but we talk quality. Yes, so designs, I agree. Designs is not something which cannot be done by engineers. They have done excellent designs, but as far as contracting is concerned, quality comes from work and people who are involved in work. That comes from there. If civil engineers, I am talking of civil engineers because it happens in field of civil engineering that there are very few people who concentrate on contracts, very few people. And if they are concerned, they should be concerned with relevant links to law. That's also very significant in every case. If we miss links to law, we cannot understand context of contract. Just 3 clauses are not enough. We can say in first clause we can write clause 1, this is contract scope. In second we write contractor accepted this amount, and third we write we accept that amount what contractor accepted, and that's it. Is that contract you think? Yes, that's a contract. You can't say no, because consideration exists there. This is the amount of fixed prices, and I can say the description of contract is given in one line. It's also a contract if it's done through solve. It's not fiction but reality. If that's done, that's contract. That's very simple, small definition. As I said, every purchase ticket of bus is a contract, or purchase ticket of platform is a contract, or something else, train rail ticket. Contract means proposal and acceptance. Sometime as a traveler, I'm not a contractor, but I become something else. So my dear friends, why I'm trying to emphasize on contract issue just that you should not fall prey to contractors' hands or to somebody's hands. Honor should also not abuse us. Nobody should get benefit of our ignorance. It's our ignorance that we do not care for this. And our ignorance is responsibility. It's our responsibility, nobody's else. Now, I am with those who get my point. Clearly understandable. I am with those. I want to help them to get myself helped. Because if I get feedback from those who want to know, and I'm talking generally for those young and budding engineers who don't understand contract in its true spirit. They have, I think, different kind of approach, as have been told by society or by parents, bad image of a contracting work, bad image of contractors. This is a fact. This fact cannot be declined. Image is as such. Image is as such that we think only 3 or 4% do exist in this country. That's the fact here. No, without operation of contract, we cannot do anything. That's also true. Without approach of contract, we cannot do anything. Just like in this, it is said that in this index, it is said definition. In general provisions, I am talking definitions. There's interpretation. Now, in these definitions, there are many terms involved, which are contracting parties, or which is contract. Likewise, everybody is defined, and that definition is like it is given on every act, every law. First definition is given. how we have to interpret that title of job or some process, how we have to interpret that. Interpret for purpose of understanding, for purpose of clarity. That is really important. If we don't have that knowledge into our mind before entering into or working on contract, performance of contracts very difficult, becomes very difficult. Because when an engineer operates and administers a contract, which he has to do, engineer has to do, there's no way out, because it is responsibility of engineer to administer contract, its essence, and raise questions about problems contractor is facing which should not face. Yet there can be, you can say, non-clarity. There can be some other issue, but that is not issue of contract. That is issue of interpretation. Because those who do not understand contract, they have different interpretation also, and that interpretation is very doubtful always. And that's what we have to think about. First, we have to understand our quality. We have to understand our quality, engineer's quality. As I said, degree cannot give you that input. Diploma cannot give that input, as you can get from project experience. For me, as an engineer, every input is important, though it's not related to engineering, even then it's important. Because every act cannot be linked to system of education. When we talk of higher degrees like engineering and medical science, we cannot learn within our syllabus duration, training duration, everything. That's beyond the scope of colleges and universities. And if you have to learn something, we have to regularly interact with these people. They have to interact with us, and we can say, yes, this is property. We use this for so many years, understand it. And we as civil engineers have to change quality aspect of society, or else quality cannot exist. Which means that engineering and life due to it cannot at all exist if quality doesn't exist. Same way we can say, if engineer exists, means engineer must have quality system with it. And if engineer cannot understand contract or quality contents of contract, or what's given, that cannot be understood, that cannot be given precedence, or what is sequence. So it is something you can say outstandingly understandable. Until I explain fully, I don't feel happy. Mind is different. Imagination's another difference. But facts cannot be deferred. If you defer facts, it will go somewhere else, and maybe it changes itself. So what I say, if contract is understood properly, it is job of you have done your job, irrespective of your empaneled somewhere, not empaneled somewhere, you are empaneled by institutions. Quality aspect quantitatively must be reliable, just like it is. That is, designs of structures and others must be made decisive, safe, qualitative, and quantitatively must be reliable for prosecution as well as for long-term performance. Construction based on reasonable, coordinated, constructible quality designs and safety. Maybe sometimes you feel I am beating about bushes, but that's not case. I am beating about profession because I don't want to say engineers should suffer because of contractors. Generally, all contractors are experts, I understand. They pose they are experts, but facts are unlimited. I try to explain a lot on contracts. I am not a contract specialist. Yet, the issue is not here being a specialist. Issue is requirement. We should not forget that we have to do justice to contractor as well as we have to do justice to our employer. For an engineer, if I am an engineer in capacity of contract, if I am an engineer in capacity of administering contract, supervising contract, in that case my job only I can do. We cannot say that an advocate should come and do that job. It's not possible. It is engineering job, construction engineering, or you can say project engineering. How can you expect that advocate should come or somebody from that field should come? That is non-engineering field. It cannot be accepted. Yes, we have to link contract conditions to that project. We have to link statutes to that project. Of course, there may be some time we take advice from those people. That's no harm. But we cannot take advice for non-law products. That's big point. We have to understand ourselves. That is primary responsibility of every engineer. Not only construction engineers have to understand, our design engineers also are bound to understand that. But that I think that state does not exist. Don't forget that engineer has to extract work from contractor, from whoever contractor. Secondary contractor has a right to eat something, has a right approximately, absolutely. Therefore, we can say there are 2 points as we already discussed: communication and coordination. Communication and coordination is very elementary part, very fundamental part, very necessary part, which cannot be avoided or which cannot be condoned just by our assumptions that why I am linked with that. We cannot say that. And we also cannot say that I cannot supervise job of contractor. Because if I cannot supervise as engineer, who else can? It is job of technical nature, it is job of engineering, it is job of specialty. So only engineer can survive to accept it. Otherwise, there is no requirement of engineer. If engineer says, I least bother about this, contract becomes a part of project. Contract becomes part of team. It is contract for which everybody works. It is contract for which everybody wants to take credit. This is a trend these days. People want to gather, they want to talk something else and go. They don't have time to interact with people who have been for long, who are here since 74, and they have to learn. If I don't learn contract conditions, how can I supervise contract? I cannot sit every day on one condition and try to learn it. If I do that, I waste my time. That's the reason I stress on contracts. We have to respect contract parties and we have to respect non-contract parties, everybody. I usually say even our guard, side guard or some lieutenant, both are responsible. They have to stay here. They can. Otherwise, contract cannot be administered. I learned this from English, from British engineers, and that is long back. I started working with them in I think 1985. This is about 35 years or 36 years back. And I realized that they had some input of contractual education, way they use language, way they use the treatments, these contractors was entirely different. They used to understand contract, they used to command over some disputes, and they refer to contract all time. Because not forget that conditions cannot be overlooked. Conditions cannot be involved to be ignored. No condition can be condemned. It may be applicable one time, it may not be applicable another time, but it's a part of contract until contract is charged. It may be superfluous or it may be reasonable. If it can be set aside, it can be set aside by both parties, consent or by court. I think if both parties are sincere, they can agree on something and can take action on that. If one party is not sincere, but because said that party wanted contract, it agreed for everything, but ultimately that agreement had become very difficult to achieve. That's where I try to explain every time, don't condemn contract. If you condemn contract, you condemn your project. If you condemn your project, you condemn your profession. Contract can be with an employee and employer. Contract can be between a offerer and government or private sector, where some transactions to go on, where some procurements to be done. We generally deal with procurements in construction and we deal with quality system everywhere. Quality system can be good in statement. It can be wonderful. But defining that system of contract is engineer's job, and engineers, juniors to engineers are responsible for that system. It's therefore very important fact for every civil engineer to spend some time on contract documents to understand. I think major portion I already included in small explanation, what we have to do, what we have not to do. It's very important that we understand contract. Otherwise, contract will teach us. You get my point. If contractor knows that this engineer is in my in my side, my end, I can pull that engineer to myself and I can abuse contract. It happens because those young engineers, they don't want to jump into tax. You just go tell them some points and they operate accordingly. They won't care for responsibility, they won't care for something else. Just I've done it. That attitude is not exactly real one. That's not acceptable one. I can do what I want to do. So every condition is important. It's very simple contract. Language also is very simple. Once we have chance to read that, we'll go through again to understand that. It will not take much time. You can say walking up and down certain destination. You can say question. Apart from that, we talk of technical terms. We talk of contents, we talk of drawings, we talk of specifications. All these are part of contract. Don't think only conditions I talked of is contract. No. Every condition, every job, every offer should be clearly and explicitly broken into mind. These conditions are very significant for everybody to understand. I'm not trying to bore you, I'm trying to give you facts. The weakness of engineers lie there in that. We are weak in our approach, and that's why contractors become heavy on us. If we know, they won't be heavy because they know. Person knows us, person knows it. Don't forget, contractors and expert. Contractor is expert. Contractor knows every ins and outs of that contract and can operate accordingly for getting benefit, direct benefit or indirect benefit in terms of money. Contractor can do that. Contractor take every engineer into confidence. Oh, I am best one, don't worry. I am very honest, don't worry. I know everything, don't worry. Don't worry about work, don't worry about contract. Don't worry about things. Trust in me. Believe in me. I am your friend. Every contractor would say that. Yes, of course, they are friends. They are not enemies. They are friends. That's why contractor has contracted and we have contracted together, or our main engineer has contracted. That's true. There can be no second thought onto that process. It can be very much accepted. It can be very much accepted. There can be no second opinion onto that. That it is something very strong. This structure of contract is very strong and it resembles to what problems we expect, what we don't expect. It can be valid for to be used on site. Sometimes we are not sure, but contractor is sure. Sometimes we don't understand contextualities, but we have to sign because of responsibility without even understanding, and of course we feel shame on that. I don't think, why do you feel shame? And there's no shame, nothing as such. Why do you feel indifferent? I don't understand. Why do you do that? When every document is devised for this project, there can be again difference between our representative and engineer. That can be done because we do not have trust in ourselves. Just like we study some subjects, designs, theory, construction, foundations, survey, fluid mechanics, and many more. Why can't we study one more subject? And that is contract. Why? What is the reason for that? We know it's a part of our life. if you go in construction, if you supervise some work, this can be used. We don't have any right to waste time of others, but such builders change life of everyone. We have to know this. Why not? I don't want to lengthen this talk, but it has been necessary that one has to understand it clearly. If you don't understand it clearly, certainly we make mistakes. We make mistakes, and these mistakes are not tenable. We cannot afford to respond to those mistakes. Such talks are essential, necessary, and we have to bear all that difficulty which we face using these talks. We have to feel bore means bore, or we have to enjoy such talks mean to enjoy. Many senior engineers I have seen, they know something. They may act as arbitrators, they may act as consultants, they may act as what? Some maybe 0.1% people are there, but in general, well on contracts. Otherwise, technical points dominate, not contractual points. You cannot overrule technical points because of contractual points. Contractual points are contractual, technical points are technical. Work is technically based, engineering wise based. It's not based on contracts. Contract terminology is different, but ultimately it is technical work that shall rule everything. Do not be confused with laws and language. That is just a definition. That is just a definition. Just priority of documents, priority of everything. But we should not forget, these are general provisions. These are not specific one. A specific one, if you say, that is technical requirement, engineering provisions which no law can overrule. No law can overrule, remember. What is to be done is to be done. No law can stop that. No judge can say this is not required. If it is required in designs, it's required. That's it. Ultimately, it is world of engineering that will rule, but world of contracts shall help. Help how much I should pay to contractor, what should not be paid, how can we control this contractor. Contractually, that point is very significant. We can't go beyond that. We should not go beyond that. All these points are very significant from every viewpoint. We cannot discard it. We cannot go against this. Engineering rolls over. It is engineering construction. It is engineering design. Only engineering is master. Nobody can overrule that. Yes, there can be defects in construction that can be solved by engineering, not by contract. There can be contractual defects, that's different. If there is contractual conditions defects, or there is misunderstanding of terminology, or there is something is unclear, something is not expressed properly, some term is not applicable, so many issues are there, or something is unnatural which cannot be accepted, Those points can be clearly understood or can be agreed together, or else if limit comes and these can't be agreed together, then that can be referred to something, some arbitration or some court. But that is very rare in construction because it's question of time cost. Time is important, cost is important. And I'm very pretty sure no contractors will like to go to court, to arbitration for nothing. Ultimate aim is to get money, due money, not undue money. Neither employer shall pay undue money, nor contractor would claim undue money. Yes, there are some ways they just make claims for gain. They also know these won't be cleared. Believe me, contractor knows more than what I know, because contractor has experience of contracts and contractor knows it's only sometimes they play with the engineer. That is temporary, means when one understands that engineer is clear, engineer cannot run away from your such plays or games, because after all this is nature of contractor to make money. What for is contractor there? That point has to be understood. For money, for project, and everybody wants to make more money, so is contractor. As engineer, I want to make more good work. I want to say, give me more quality, better quality. You do better than best. Of course, contractor would say, yes, of course I would do, but not at loss of money. No contractor would say, oh, I can give you gold if you want me to give you a steel. How can you get gold? Openly such phrases are used. I cannot give you diamond if you ask for gold. Means I would do only that for which I am paid or for which my contract states. Whatever contract demands, I will fulfill that, not something else. And that's a very important point. You have to be very specific on that. Really, you have to be very specific in this regard. Surely specific, not otherwise. You have to be a modeler in this case. You have to be a clear concern. You have to have a clear concern about this. And that's where its importance lies here. क्या हुआ डॉक्टर साहब, जल्दी उठ गए? We have to understand these points very clearly, that we should not exploit contractor as well. We have to think, we have to consider that contractor is my friend professionally to do my job. Of course, one shall be paid, that is indeed, but payment is one part of contract, not every part of contract. Payment is due, it's paid. If it's not due, it's not paid. If contract is not taken care of by contractor, payment shall not be made. Very simple. And if work is done properly, I have no right to stop payment. It's also very clear. That's what we say, rights and duties. Duty of a contractor is to do job according to requirements, according to specification. And duty of an engineer is to make sure that job is done according to requirement, in given time, under given specifications, or we can say compliance should be conducted. Conformance should be achieved. No work should be done without conformance. Non-conformance is challengeable, is not accepted. Everybody understands these points. So if we understand these points, that payment is to be made to contractor, it is to be done, work is to be done in given time, it is to be done according to quality requirement, safety standards are required to be maintained, care has to be taken for workers, for machines, and force, additional force if required, should be procured in time, which is all responsibilities, which are all duties included in the contract, and this should be done by contractor. If we don't understand this point, if our contractor doesn't understand this point, we can say it's a mistake. We have to understand these points. We have to make sure that contractor does it. That's our duty, to ensure that contractor does its job. We cannot simply skip out. It's our duty to, you can say, indirectly, even contractually, force contractually, not physically. There are various conditions in contract. All conditions are there which can force legally contractor to its job, and equally there are conditions in contract that can force you, the contractor can force you to oblige or to take responsibility of contractual operations. So I don't think there should be some the contracts representative, they can be friendly environment, there can be professional environment, there can be working environment created around, and that depends upon positive, professional, constructive approach that operates between two. There should be no enmity, there should be no anguish, because both are responsible. Engineer knows its job, contractor knows its job. They are not alien to each other. There can be difference of nations, there can be differences of nationality, there can be differences of religions. All these do not matter when point of contract administration comes into. Our objective is project achievement, project delivery. That achievement is very simple, very clear. It's nothing extraordinary, nothing unclear. Everybody knows what to do, what not to do. Everybody knows how to manage, how to organize, how to. Of course, contractor has more obligations quantity wise. Contractor has more work to do because contractor has to deliver. Contractor has to deliver, and it cannot be taken for granted. It cannot be taken for granted. It cannot be taken easily. One has to deliver and one has to receive it. Contractor is contracting expert and engineer is supervisory and administrative expert. So everyone is expert. Designer is a design expert, contractor is working expert, prosecution expert, and engineer is supervising experts, administrative experts. क्या बात डॉक्टर साहब नहीं आ रही? हाँ? Life of both ways, duties of both ways, both work for project. Reputation of contractor is also important, that this contractor delivered excellent work, quality work, safe work. That contractor has certain reputation, and no contractor wants to loosen that. Same way, engineer has got something, some background, and people know that engineer is strict or not strict. Engineer is flexible or rigid. but engineer also has to deliver what is expected of delivering, and that is engineer is able to extract contract work in quality standards. All constraints should be met, everything should be within limits, every engineer can do it. There is no question of relaxation. Yes, there could be some concessions in interest of job. If contractor is a good performer, certain relaxations can be given if these help project. It doesn't mean you have to give relaxations in quality standards. It doesn't mean you have to give relaxations in safety standards. Yes, you can give relaxations like, okay, I can supervise your job, I can inspect any time, whatever time. Don't worry, I am here to help you. I can, if your job is ready, I can send my representative. Whenever it's required, that representative shall be available there to help job run. Likewise means where you do not lose anything. You do not lose. I want to value time. You are working hard, so I am with you. I want this project delivered before time, if not, if possible, with good quality. So such types of procedural concessions can be given. Means nothing is here ruling item. Oh no, you have to give me 24 hours notice, no way out. Yes, of course, if I can come, that is limit, means I need time to understand something. I need to time, I have to study all requirements, only then I can say that is. क्या बात डॉक्टर साहब, नींद नहीं आ रही आपको? हाँ, तो जल्दी सो रहे तो उठो। आप सो क्यों उठ रहे हो? अभी तो पाला ही नहीं खोला। कितने हो गया, काट खाते हैं बहुत होते हैं, कितने सो। हाँ, मैं तो काटी 2 बार काटा है मेरे को। बहुत खतरनाक लगता है मुझे तो से। आज आप जल्दी उठ गए, कमाल हो गया वैसे।
नींद आ गई,
अच्छी आ गई तो और सो लेते थोड़ी देर।
लेकिन मेरा मन कर रहा है
घूम लो तो देख लो, अभी तो अंधेरा है।
क्या टाइम हुआ?
टाइम तो हुआ है 5:40। हाँ,
उठने का टाइम?
नहीं, टाइम तो उठने का है, वो तो बात नहीं है, टाइम तो उठने का ही है। तो अच्छी बात है, जल्दी उठ गए। तो मैं ये थोड़ी कह रहा हूँ, पता नहीं कब सोई है, मुझे नहीं पता। मैं तो ये तो अपनी वो करके पूजा सोई होगी, इसका तो टाइम लगता है रोज। नई बात तो है नहीं, 2-3 तो बज ही जाते हैं इसको। हाँ, तो 3 बजे सोई होगी, 2-2:30 बजे मतलब।
2 बजे में उठा था।
हाँ,
किचन में गई थी।
और वो करती रहती है, पागल हो गई है। क्या करेगा, उससे पागल कर दिया इसको, उसने इसको पागल कर दिया।
वो वैसे मतलब जो नहीं आता।
हाँ,
वो हमारा जो काफी होता है ना,
नहीं होगा। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, ढूंढ लो, आपको ऐसा केस ही नहीं मिलेगा। सच कहते उसने हमें बर्बाद कर दिया डॉक्टर साहब। देखो, हम समाज को फेस नहीं कर सकते, पहली बात।
उसका तो फैसला वही करे, उसको बर्बाद करके किया।
हाँ,
उन्होंने दोनों को खत्म करके और वापस आए तब।
अब क्या वापस आके करेगी, क्या वो है, अब उसमें है भी क्या?
मैं तो कुछ
फिर क्या करेंगे आप?
बर्बाद हो गई।
क्या सोचा, क्या क्यों किया, मैं नहीं जानता क्या हुआ है। मैं जितना टाइम देता जाता है ना, दूर ही होता जा रहा हूँ मैं तो उससे, क्योंकि इंसान ही नहीं है तो क्या करूँगा इसका। ऐसा एक लिमिट तक आदमी सोच सकता है ना, हमेशा हर चीज़ आप थोड़ी सोच सकता है। बट यही सोचता हूँ कि अगर मैं पहले को पता होता ऐसे करेगी तो मैं तो साथ ही नहीं देता ऐसे गलत।
वैसे फ़ोन करते हैं मरीज,
हाँ,
वैसे मरीजों का फ़ोन आता है।
हाँ,
चाहे रिलेटिव वालों को,
हाँ,
वरना यहाँ तो मरीज नहीं आता।
नहीं आता।
मैं कल मेरे को 2 मरीजों का था।
अच्छा,
आएंगी,
हाँ।
एक ही नहीं आया।
ऐसा फेस्टिवल चल रहा है, तो आप ये भी तो देखो ना, फेस्टिवल में कौन आएगा?
फ़ोन की बोलते हो?
बस कर दिया, फ़ोन फ्री में है ना, इसलिए कर दिया। फ़ोन से पैसा लग रहा है। उनका बिल आएगा ना तो तब नहीं करते। ये यही होता है ना अब्यूज़।
अच्छा, मैं सोचता हूँ कि जब एक एक दो दो आए तो कम से कम शुरू तो करो। मैं तो ऑपरेशन के लिए गया भाई, जो तुम्हारे पास है वो दो कर दूँगा।
ऐसा ऐसा होता है ना, तो आपने यहाँ का एड्रेस दे रखा है, वो सोचते हैं यहाँ रहते होंगे, ये बात हो जाती है ना, उन्हें थोड़ी पता आप नहीं रहते हो,
नहीं, मैं बोलता हूँ उनको, मैं
वो
सही,
लाइटली लेते हैं सब।
हाँ, मैं बोलता हूँ शनिवार को आता हूँ और आपका मंगल को ऑपरेशन करूँगा, यहाँ देख लूँगा ऑपरेशन आपको वहाँ होगा, यहाँ ही होगा, रेडियो को जाना होता है दिल्ली तक है, तो जो मेट्रो मेट्रो के साथ।
तो सब लोग तो ऐसे ही हैं, लोग तो उतने सीरियस नहीं जितने आप सोचते हो, आप प्रोफेशनल हो, लोग तो प्रोफेशनल नहीं है ना, तो फर्क हो जाए तो।
एक दो तीन जो हो जाए हैं तो लोगों को मैसेज चला जाता है कि हाँ ऑपरेशन कर जाओ, मैं चाहता हूँ ऑपरेशन हो जाएगा, जिससे थोड़ा सा क्या है कि मैं चाहता हूँ बहुत दिल से जाता हूँ कि इसमें मैं थोड़ा सा
वो बिजली वाले का कुछ हुआ,
है?
वो बिजली वाला जो आया था पिछली
वो
बार,
भी हो रहा है।
हाँ नहीं बात की किसने, बात ही नहीं की।
उस समय से मैं यही तो कहूँगा, जो आप कहते हैं ना वो आपके पास में दम होता है, यहाँ आते हैं सब चल जाए, आदमी यहाँ कैसा है। वैसे एक डॉक्टर ने भी कहा था फरीदाबाद का ही, कैसे मैंने यार फरीदाबाद में बोल रहा फरीदाबाद में इसको
मैं बताऊँ था तब बात फरीदाबाद की नहीं है, बात सभी जगह की ऐसी है,
दिल्ली में भी है,
सब कहीं चले जाओ आप, सब जगह ये हाल है, मेंटलिटी वही है,
आज की मेंटलिटी हुई है।
कोई मेंटलिटी कुछ नहीं है, हर आदमी चाहता है बैठे बैठे काम हो जाए,
हाँ, यही आगे करता है डॉक्टर, वैसे भी ना ले
बस खाली डॉक्टर ही नहीं, हर काम ऐसे हो जाए, सब कुछ ऐसे हो जाए। चलो ये तो डॉक्टर की बात आप कर रहे हो, आप ये बताओ जो लाखों रुपये खर्च के मकान बना रहा है वो तो गरीब नहीं है, कैसे भी लाके अपना मकान बना रहा है, वहाँ कौन ध्यान कर रहा है। डॉक्टर तो चलो आँख का ऑपरेशन कर देगा, थोड़े दिन का जाएगा, वो तो ज़िंदगी भर मकान में रहेगा, उसे मकान की चिंता नहीं, वो जो ज़िंदगी भर की कमाई खर्च रहे हैं उसकी उन्हें चिंता नहीं है।
ठेकेदार से बात करता है,
मैं कह रहा हूँ ना, वो मेसन से बात कर लेगा, ठेकेदार को भी मारोगे, वो कारपेंटर से बात करके करा लेगा अपना काम। तो कहने का मतलब वो कहते हैं सब कुछ अपने आप हो जाए। अब जैसे आपका ज़मीन का कैसा ही हमारी काम वाली है, इसका भी एक केस है, ये जो काम करती है बाहर, इन्होंने भी कहीं ज़मीन खरीद ली ऐसे ही, खेती की ज़मीन, एक को लिख के दे दिया उसने, हाँ जी ये तुम्हारी ज़मीन होगी।
हमारे बारह वाली आती है,
हाँ
12 वाली आती है,
हाँ, मोटी मोटी जो है बाहर
आती है
को
वो?
आती है,
यहाँ वाली नहीं आ रही।
अंदर वाली नहीं आ रही।
दीदी सो जाओ, भी नहीं, हम तो हो गए, नहीं अब सो जाओ,
पौने 6 हुए, पौने 6।
6:45, अभी 1-1.5 घंटा सो जाओ, सो लो, या तो हम अंदर जा रहे हैं,
आ रहा हूँ और थोड़े आ रहा हूँ, बंद कर देंगे,
चलो।
बंद कर दो, आ रहा हूँ, जब बाजार